This is 3 Detroit Sports Talk, the only show with all of your favorite Detroit sports news and action. I am Tommy Riles here with Brendan Riley and Cody Hudson, as always. Fellas, are we ready to do this thing?
No.
Yes, sir.
All right. Today we're going to talk about the struggling Tigers. Nothing new, obviously, since the last time we
Told
talked
you that
about
2
them.
weeks ago.
Exactly. Cody, what's your impression on the team in the last 2 weeks? Obviously, not much has changed.
Yeah, not much has changed since the last time we talked about the Tigers. Still in that terrible slump. 20-23 now, 3 games under 500, 5 games out of first place.
In the division.
Behind Cleveland. Yeah, they're not looking so hot right now, but I mean, they still have time to bounce back. It's still early in the season. And, I mean, right now, their play is just not good.
I think right now it's just getting frustrating. It's like, I mean, personally, I don't see any way this team doesn't make the playoffs. The Indians are not a good team. It's more just, I don't want to watch this. Why am I going to watch a Tigers game? I don't feel like they're going to win. Even when Verlander goes out there, like today, I don't feel that confident anymore. Because, great, he can give up, 1 run, 2 runs. That's not enough for this team.
Yeah. With Fister, I mean, you got to look at how Fister's come back from the DL. He's done nothing but pitch spectacular since he's come back. I mean, going into his last game, he had under a 2.0 ERA and somehow managed to be 0-2. So, I mean, with 5 starts under his belt, you'd think he'd have a win by now, but no, because our offense can't do crap. We're just struggling. Like you said, Brendan, I mean, I disagree with one point. I feel like when Verlander goes out there, that's the only time I do feel comfortable, just because of the fact that 9 times out of 10 he will stop the losing streak.
I'm not saying that he won't stop the losing streak. What I'm saying is, in past years, you could go out there with Verlander and you knew it was a win. Right now, you feel comfortable that Verlander won't give up more than 2 runs, and more often than not, he's probably going to hold you to 1 run. But I'm talking at this very moment, not this season. Throughout most of the season, that hasn't been a problem. But it's just, I mean, 2 runs is not enough for the Tigers to work with right now. I mean, it doesn't seem like the Tigers are scoring anything. And your point about Doug Fister, real quick, through 5 starts, he's got an ERA of 1.84 and is 0-2.
Yeah, it's terrible to think, to know that, because the Tigers, I mean, really with the Tigers, it's a lot of missed opportunities that I see. It's like we're leaving runners in scoring position all the time. Our hitting hasn't been spectacular like it should be with all these big name guys that we got playing on our team. And our pitching is it's not bad, but we're not putting up enough runs to win the game for these guys, for Verlander, for Porcello, for Fister. We're not putting up enough runs for these guys to win the games. And it's terrible, like you said, Brendan, because these guys, they're pitching good games. It's not like they're pitching terrible. And like you said today, it's scary for Verlander. He's pitching, and you're on the edge. You don't think we're going to win because of the way that our play is.
1 run, 2 runs isn't enough.
Exactly.
Well, last time when we talked about the Tigers, we were talking about what we were proud of, like some things that we were positive. I want to look at Andy Dirks again. A couple weeks ago when we looked at him, he wasn't in the 2 spot yet. Andy Dirks is actually catching up to Austin Jackson now with at bats. And right now, Andy Dirks leads the team with a .336 average, with 107 at-bats, with 4 home runs, 14 RBIs. 7 of those are doubles. 2 of them are triples. He's got 8 walks. I mean, the guy is definitely proving that he can compete at this level. And I would honestly say, if there's anything positive to look at going out of this first part of the season, I would say that's definitely a positive.
And I'm going to give you the flip side of that. Not as much on Andy Dirks, but last time we were really high on Dwayne Bealo and Drew Smyly. Not that either of them have been terrible. They've both been fine. I'd still say they've done what we expected, but they've definitely dropped off. I think last time we talked, Dwayne Bealo was still sitting at a 0 ERA, which of course he's not going to hold. But it's now fallen to a 2.61, and Drew Smyly, I believe, was at a 1. Just above a 1. He's now all the way up to 2.89, which is they're very good at ERAs, but those have dropped off a little bit too.
Well, you couldn't expect Smyly to keep. I think last time we talked, Smyly was at like a 1.7 ERA.
And we knew he wouldn't do that.
And Bealo the 0.0. Honestly, at 2.89, that's 2.61, where Bealo's at right now, that's pretty much where you want your relievers. And out of the pitching,
even that's great.
Right, out of the pitching, those 2 are definitely not my highest concerns. I mean, we just got rid of Ballister, so I mean that's going to help out a lot because we can bring someone else up, which we did. We brought Quentin Berry up, but the guy who I'm completely just not happy with at all is Porcello. Every time you think he's coming out and gonna bust out of his slump and start performing like he used to, and just start finding his consistency, he doesn't. I mean, his last 3 starts have just been awful. I mean, when I don't think he's made it through 5 innings in one of his starts probably in like 2 weeks. So I mean, you can't test that. Scherzer has started to turn around. I mean, that 15K game a couple Sundays ago was just unbelievable. It's also unbelievable that with a 15K game that he still was on the edge of losing and he never got a decision in that game. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's some upside to our pitching and then there's some downside, but I wouldn't put Smiley and Belo down as on the downside yet.
No, not just yet. They've played well. Their last couple showings haven't been the greatest, but everybody has a couple bad games here and there. I mean, Verlander every once in a while has a bad game too. It's rare for him, obviously, because he's probably one of the best pitchers in the league. Actually, why do I say probably? He definitely is one of the best pitchers in the league.
One of the best ever.
Well,
yeah.
Smiley's last outing, if I remember right, I think he went. Everybody was questioning it because he went 5 innings, but the only reason why he went 5 innings because his pitch count was so high. He gave up 4 runs, I believe it was. Hang on, I'm looking for it right here. He went 4 2/3 innings, 7 hits, and 4 earned runs, and he had 6 strikeouts. I mean, that's still not a horrible outing. I mean, yes, he gave up 4 runs, but he still had 6 strikeouts, and we still have to remember this kid's like 20 years old.
You knew he was going to come back down there.
And he had quite a few of those strikeouts. I was watching that game. A few of those strikeouts, there was runners in scoring position.
Yeah, he definitely.
So he comes back after a hit, and he gets the batter out so he can get out of the inning. He leaves a lot of runners on base.
Put it this way. You were saying he's taken a step back. Through 43 2/3 innings, he now still has 44 strikeouts. That's still better than the strikeout per inning. So, I mean, I'll take that out of a rookie. I mean, you can't ask for much more.
Any day.
I don't actually know how to explain this, to be honest, but when I take a look at a couple things I want to point out to you guys. You got Max Scherzer at a strikeouts per 9 innings at 11.65, ERA 5.73. His whip's not the strongest, so that's not exactly the best spot to look at. But listen, Verlander, 9 strikeouts an inning with a whip of 0.8. He's giving up less than 1 walk or hit, less than 1 base runner per inning, and he's still got an ERA of 2. Don't get me wrong, 2.14 is great, but I don't know. At this spot, I would expect it to see even better. And then Drew Smiley, the guy we were just talking about, he's got a whip of 1.19, and he's getting 9 strikeouts an inning as well. And his ERA is at 2.89. Some of these almost surprise me to see. You look at some of our pitching stats, and they're very strong, but they're giving up more runs than I would expect.
I agree with that.
I don't know what's up with that.
Our pitching has been spectacular. I mean, you cannot blame this season on the starting pitcher. The only starting pitcher that you can blame part of the season on is Porcello.
I'd argue to put Scherzer up there as well.
Yeah, Scherzer as well at the beginning of the season. I mean, Scherzer's starting to turn it around a little bit. For Porcello, though, these are his last 3 starts. In Oakland, he went 5 innings, giving up 9 hits, 4 earned runs. In Minnesota, he kind of started turning it around. He went 4 innings with 2 earned runs, but he also had 4 base stunt balls. In Cleveland, he went 5 1/3 innings, giving up 8 hits and 4 earned runs with 3 walks and only 6 strikeouts. I mean, with 6 strikeouts. Porcello's not a strikeout pitcher, and I feel like this year he's actually trying to become too much of a strikeout. Yeah, we don't want a strikeout pitcher. We want him to be his ground ball self and just get the ground ball outs like he always did. I mean, that's when Porcello is the best. But let's switch over to the hitting now. I mean, we've pretty much covered all of.
I want to point out one thing that, of course, it doesn't look like it's caused much effect. But if you guys remember, a couple weeks ago when we talked about the Tigers, I pointed out I believe they had 5 players who were virtually everyday players batting below 250. Even though the hitting still doesn't seem like it turned around, that's actually changed quite a bit. Now you start looking for everyday people below 250. Let's see, you got Brennan Bosch batting 246. I think he was around 200 last time.
Yeah.
Alex Avila 222. He hasn't changed much. And then after that, I mean, Santiago 191. But for the most part, the batting average has actually gone up since the last time we've talked.
No, Dirks definitely helped us with the 336. Jackson's at 331. That's definitely... Well, Jackson's biggest problem now is he's hurt. I mean, if Jackson goes on the 15-day DL, I don't really want to see where this team's going to be at the end of that 15 days.
You better hope they can
you better
stay alive.
You better hope Quentin Berry comes up and at least performs to some type of potential because...
And he looked good in his first game. I mean, he didn't look great, but I guess he only got 1 hit and 5 at-bats, but he didn't look bad from what I saw.
Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, we don't need him to be Jackson, but we do need him to at least step up and
score some runs.
Exactly.
I don't care how he gets on base. I really don't.
Yeah, his 1 hit was a double though. So
it was off a bunt. It was a bunted double. No errors. It was a bunted double.
Yeah.
Then we were watching that game, and with that bunt double, he showed that he's a smart player because not only was it a no-error bunt double, but he placed that right where he wanted to. He knew he was putting it right between the pitcher and the second baseman, got it over there, and it went right behind the second baseman, and he had the smarts to go over to second. So, I mean, like I said, I mean, I was telling Brendan on the way over today, actually, if this team is more than 5 games out, I think that's when more than 5 games out at the All-Star break, I think that's when you can start to panic a little bit. I'm not saying throw your pitchforks and everything and start blowing up the team because that's not probable. But if they're under 500 and they're still playing like this, I mean, if they're under 500 and Cleveland goes on a 12-game winning streak, I understand. But
speaking of Quentin Berry, I know just going back to where we were at. For those of you who are listening right now, we recorded this Thursday, so this is why I'm saying today's game. But in today's game, Quentin Berry's actually got 2 at-bats, and he scored the only run for the Tigers so far through 3 innings with another hit. I mean, don't get me wrong. We're not looking for this guy to be a stud. But he needs to do something. If Austin Jackson's going to be out for a while, somebody needs to take his place.
Somebody needs to do the job. And, I mean, if he's good enough to do the job, to get a couple hits, a hit every game, and play the position how it's supposed to be played at center field, I don't see a problem.
Well, everybody's talking about how we at the trade deadline we have to go get another bat. We really don't need to get another bat. One of our guys who had their years last year needs to just step up. Bosch needs to either step up, Avila needs to step up, or Peralta needs to step up. If one of those guys starts hitting like they were last year, all of a sudden this is a brand new team.
I was just about to ask you guys about that. I think everybody assumes we're going to make a move at the All-Star break. I put myself along in with that group. Tom, I think I know your answer, but would you guys rather go out and get a starting pitcher, which many people think we need, or a second baseman, which I think everybody knows we need a second baseman?
I want a second baseman.
So you would trade for second baseman?
There's been so much flirting with Matt Garza. I would not be upset if we wound up getting Matt Garza at the trade deadline, just because, I mean, he's been proven he's a great starting pitcher, and that way we can at least find out something with Porcello and Scherzer, and we don't have to be obligated to them anymore. But as far as the fact that what we need at the trade deadline, I mean, we definitely need a second baseman. I mean, not only has the hitting been terrible from second base, but the fielding hasn't been that great either. I mean, it's just an all-around problem over at second base. So, yeah, I'm all for a second baseman at the trade deadline. But you have to think of it like this. How many second basemen are there out there?
Yeah, you gotta look at what's available.
Right. I mean, I'll be more happy if we just go out there and keep these guys, but we get DH or something who's actually going to perform. I mean, we have to get another bat, unless, like I said, Peralta or Avila or Bosch start stepping up, which is completely possible.
Well, no doubt in my mind that something needs to happen at the All-Star break. A move, some sort of transaction. Like I'm with Tom though on the second baseman. But like you said, somebody who's available, somebody who you can depend on. I mean, if it's a designated hitter, let it be. Get him. I mean, if he can hit, so we need some sort of boost in our team right now. I mean, our pitching. Do we want another starting pitcher? Right now, our pitchers. There's a couple that are like on the fence, and then we have a couple good ones who are pitching well. And
we also have to think of it as for our pitching. I mean, what's killed us mostly this year is not our starting pitching; it's mainly been our bullpen. But we also have by the trade deadline, Al Albuquerque should be back. And I mean, if he can be healthy, that completely changes.
It adds another very good arm to the bullpen. Let me ask you one more question real quick. With the second base idea, we all said we need a second baseman. It doesn't depend on who's available. Let's look away from a trade right now. This is an idea that has been brought up by some people. I'm not a fan of it, but I have to admit it is very interesting. Currently, the Tigers have Nick Castellanos in third base down in single A. Now, I don't know if a guy's ever gone from single A to MLB in 1 year. It may have happened, to be honest. I don't know. Tom, would you like to check that? Or see if you can find anything on that? But
From single A.
from single A to MLB in one season.
Well, I mean...
But I would like to let you know his stats right now. He's batting .413. He's got a on-base percentage of .474. He's got 71 hits, 28 runs. I mean, he's dominating down there. But this is the lowest level of the minor leagues.
Like 2 years. But, I mean, with the fact that he is a third baseman by trade, it is a hard transition to go from third base to second base. I mean, third base is the harder position because it's the hot corner. However, you have to be fast to play second base. I really haven't seen the kids build yet. So, I mean...
And he's young.
Right, and he's young. So, I mean, who knows?
Also, he's making a trend not only from third base to second base, from single A to MLB.
Well, you wouldn't go straight from single A. You'd have to move up first. But
yeah, you would have. Yeah, but I mean,
if you're going to do that, if you're going to do the whole transition from third base to second base, you want him to go from single A to MLB this year, that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
You have to bring him up as a third baseman because if he's going to be switching positions, I mean, look what happened to Cabrera at the beginning of the season. I really do think half the reason why Cabrera went through that long slump for that 3 weeks is because he was so focused on fielding. Well, look what happened to him. Now all of a sudden he's getting back into the swing of things and he's getting used to it. But with a young player like Castellanos, if you're going to do that so quick, there's no way he's going to be able to pick that up in less than 3 months like you want him to.
Yeah, I mean, I like him a lot, but the transitions, you don't know how he's going to play, how he's going to do. He's going to come up through single A, through double A, through triple A, and MLB in 1 year.
So you guys don't like the idea of going there for second base, and I don't either, but it just seemed like an interesting idea for me.
It is interesting to look at, but, I mean, you never know. I mean, his productivity in the single A is great, but how is he going to play?
Even in double A, triple A, you don't even know.
Well, let's think about it like this. I mean, we all know that Victor Martinez is still on the DL. He is supposed to be. I mean, he's had rumors that he's been being great with his rehab assignments and everything. So, I mean, if we can get V-Mart back, if you're promised to get him back by beginning of August, do you make a trade for a hitter if he's going to come back and hit like he did last year? Because, I mean, if he's going to do that, that completely turns this team around right there because you've got another basically 300, 350 hitter for the last 2 months of the season. And, I mean, like I said, not like I said, but, I mean, we've got 2 months left before the trade deadline pretty much, and we're only 5 games out right now. In 2 months, I mean, this team could go on a 20-game win streak and all of a sudden be leading the division by 15 games. So, I mean, but that's the great thing about baseball. I mean, right now we're talking about blowing up the team and completely ticked off about what's going on with this team and stuff. But in 2 months, we could all be sitting back watching Tigers waiting for the postseason because we're so far up in first place. I mean, it's just that rapid of a change.
Here's my problem with relying on Victor Martinez coming back and being, the savior, is last year he had his second best year of his career. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Victor Martinez coming back can only be a good thing. But especially coming off an injury, I don't think you're going to get that .330 batter he was last year. And regardless, I think you need to make a move. Whether you go get a pitcher or you go get a second baseman, which a second baseman is needed regardless of how you want to do that.
Well, here's my biggest thing. Is it worth giving up an Oliver or a Turner for something that we honestly could probably do better with if we waited till free agency, if you're promised to even get like a 280?
And like I said, I was saying it doesn't need to be a trade. They need to find a second baseman. And I think they don't need to do it this year. This team needs to make the playoffs this year. But I think after that, people would be all right if the first year doesn't translate into much more. If there's free agent second baseman out there for next year, I'm okay with waiting. Go ahead.
This team's just, I don't know. Right now, that we all know they're not performing the way that we all wanted them to at the beginning of the season. But I hate to do it, but it's like everybody says. I mean, this team was actually in worse position last year at this time. And, I mean, we keep relying on that and stuff. But I think it's just going to take one little run where this team goes on like a 5-6 game winning streak, and then all of a sudden you're going to start. Because, I mean, last year our biggest thing was after our long losing streaks and stuff like that, Verlander would come out and get a win, and then all of a sudden...
You keep yourself in it with those.
Exactly. Plus, last year we were getting a lot more series wins. Like, every series we were winning either 2-1 or 3-1. We were always winning series, which made us stay over 500. I mean, I was looking at a stat before we went on this whole losing streak in the past couple weeks. I think it was going into the Oakland series. We hadn't been under 500 since, like, April of 2011. Like, April of last year. So, I mean...
And you were saying, you can't rely on this, we've been here before. But going towards that, I guess, for me, is that you gotta... I have no idea what I'm saying. I forgot where I was going. I was just trying to stall.
Okay, well, Brendan recovers from that brain fart. You're right, though. I mean, we can't rely on the past, like you were saying. I think I know where you're going with that. I mean, this team does have a lot of potential. We all know that. We all know what this team can do. It's just a matter of they're not doing it. And you were saying it earlier to me. I feel like this team is going out on the field and they just look lazy. I mean, they look like they don't care if they lose because they're so much talked about. Basically, they're going out there thinking, okay, well, we're gonna win eventually. So
they feel like they deserve it.
Exactly. They feel like they're the best. On paper, they're the best team in baseball. Or in real life, they're under 300 team or under 500 team by 3 games right now.
Now, what I was trying to say before my brain just decided to stop is that I wanted to point out that this season, what scares me is we're losing to a lot of bad teams.
Yeah.
We're losing series to Oakland. We're losing series to Seattle. We're losing series to Cleveland. Well, I guess Cleveland's first in the division, but let's be honest, they're not that good. We're losing series to the Twins. These aren't teams, like, you're throwing away your easy games. If we were 20-23 and our losses were to, the Yankees, to the Rangers, which we do have some to them, but that wouldn't bother me as much. But we're throwing away some of the games you rely on in the end to make those comebacks.
Well, like you said, the Indians aren't that good, but, I mean, like we said earlier, we're recording this on Thursday, and right now the Indians have a 2-1 lead on us again. So, obviously, this team needs to start hitting. I mean, it seems like every game we come out and we either blast off the bats in the first inning or second inning but don't score any runs, or we wait until the 7th inning to finally bust out our bats, but we're already in like a 5-0, 6-0 hole.
And that's what shows that they don't care. All of a sudden, when they need to score, what do? It looks like they try all of a sudden. Yeah. It looks like a different team.
I don't know if you guys were watching the first Indians game of this series, but we were watching it at the bar, and as we were watching it, the last out of the game was made by Prince Fielder. There was a guy on first and third. We were down by 2 runs, and your $1 million man, $10 million, whatever $1 million man comes up the bat. You're thinking, oh, cool, this is where he's going to redeem himself. He grounds into a ground ball to shortstop, and they show a little side video of him on the side in the dugout. He's sitting there laughing with Cabrera. Get your butt back on the field the next day and go out there and perform if you're going to do that. Because I'm tired of watching these guys just go out there and play lackadaisical. I mean, this is just stupid. This team is way too good for this.
Yeah, that was the ground ball that he hit to a double play, right?
Yeah, to end the game.
I remember watching that. I was like, it was like, he's our number one big guy, big $1 million man that we just picked up, and he shouldn't be hitting ground balls into double plays when we need him the most in that position.
I'm going to throw out one more thing to all of Detroit who's listening. Please stop blaming this whole season on Cabrera moving to third base. Yes, he has 6 errors going into this game today.
And those are not what have cost us games.
Yes. Cabrera has played a fine third base for... Honestly, I would not be surprised if down the road, because we all know that hitting does come or factor into Gold Glove voting. I would not be surprised after a few years over at third base if Cabrera is not in the running for a Gold Glove. With the fact that he's making the plays that he needs to make. He's like Peralta right now, honestly. I mean, during that Verlander no-hitter last Friday, I saw a ball that was hit up the middle that any other shortstop in baseball would have had except for Johnny Peralta. They're going to get the balls that are hit right to them or close to them. They are not going to give you range, though.
And about Cabrera, what a lot of people are trying to point to say that the third baseman was affecting him is that he hasn't been batting well. Well, I don't know what those people are watching, because 306 is batting pretty well to me. 34 RBIs is batting pretty well to me. 8 home runs, Again, that's batting pretty well. I don't know what they're seeing.
In the first part of the season, I will admit, I was one of those because I'm completely still to that. And at the beginning of the season, I do feel like Cabrera was focusing a lot more on fielding than he was on hitting. But I think Leland pulled him aside and just said, look, man, we're not having you out there to be a Gold Glove third baseman. We're having you out there to be a 300 hitter. And
we need to give you a position.
Exactly. If you hit 300 and be an average third baseman, you're still going to help this team.
Better than what we had in Inch.
Yeah.
Hey, well, I don't know.
Easily.
With Detroit fans, who knows? They probably still want Inch, but
hey, he had 2 home runs against us.
Yeah. But what do you guys think? I mean, I'm still to the point right now. I'm not giving up hope. I think this team will be in first place by 4 games by All-Star break.
I'm far from giving up hope. I'm more frustrated than anything. I don't see any way this team doesn't make the playoffs. I really don't. I mean, unless you lose like Cabrera and Fielder to injury. But no, I'm very frustrated with this team, but I'm far from giving up hope.
The only reason why I would see this team not being in first place by the All-Star break is if Cleveland does actually
turn out to be good.
Go on a 20-game win streak.
You have to look at it though. Like this team was in first place last year, and the only turning point, we talked about it last time, the only turning point of last season was when Jackson threw out Chu at home, and that completely changed the season around.
We're all counting on a Cleveland collapse.
Yeah.
If that doesn't happen, it's going to be tough.
I don't know if you can count on that this year. I mean, Cleveland, yes, they don't have the big names and stuff like that. Neither did Florida when they won the World Series that year. Nobody heard of all of their players before that season. I mean, yes, they had Miguel Cabrera. Yes, they had Josh Beckett. Yes, they had Dontrelle Willis. However, Miguel Cabrera was not really
what he is now.
Exactly. He wasn't what he is now. He was basically a home run hitter.
Dontrelle Willis was a Cy Young winner, though, at that point.
Yeah, he was. But then you had Josh Beckett, who wasn't – I mean, he was good, but he was a surprise going into that season. That team won it with hardly anybody on their team. I mean, there's a lot of times. I mean, the Cardinals last year, they had Berkman and Pujols.
2 of the last Cardinals.
Exactly. They don't. Yeah. A lot of baseball is just getting on streaks at the right time. I mean, I don't know.
And that's what we're hoping for with the Tigers.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, once a team gets hot, then they're hot, and it's tough to slow them down. It could be any team in the league.
All right. So at this point, Tigers in first place by All-Star break. Brendan.
I'd say they're getting right about there. You could be even, but yeah, right around first place.
Cody, first place by All-Star break.
Yeah, tough to say. I mean, right now, but I believe that they'd be right there. Right. I mean, if not first place, then a game or 2 behind.
I'm saying first place, and I'm also throwing out the bold statement that in the next 3 weeks we will be on at least a 5-game winning streak. At one of those points.
So by the next time we mention the Tigers,
right, next time we talk about the Tigers, according to Time, we will be talking about this turnaround and how great this team is.
According to Tom,
that's what we're hoping for.
This is a bold prediction
Hold
by
to that, guys.
Tommy Riles.
But I do want to switch over the topic for a second. I want to switch over the topic for a second, just because of the fact that we have some history going on in 2 other sports right now, and I was texting Brendan about this the other day. You have 2 8 seeds left in both playoffs right now in the NBA and NHL. Are you guys for the underdog, or do you want to see the higher seeds win?
I'm for the underdog. I am currently rooting for the Pacers to beat the Heat. I guess I don't mind too much the Boston-Philly series, but whoever wins that, I want to win the next series. And I want to see the Kings sweep either the Devils or the Rangers.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the same way. I mean, I feel a lot more comfortable with LA because I
got money on the Kings over
right,
there.
So I put $10 on the beginning of the season.
Exactly. So please, Kings, back me up as a Kings bandwagon fan. Please get me $400. But yeah, with the whole fact with the Kings, I mean, they've actually turned around to be like the best team in hockey now. All of a sudden,
yeah, I say they're favorites.
I would honestly say that Jonathan Quick has emerged in this playoff as the best goalie in the NHL, and I mean, Berger has been great, and Lundqvist has been pretty good. But watching that game,
I've never seen anyone more fun to watch than that.
Exactly.
The last guy I saw who was as fun to watch in that, honestly, and this is of course going to have a little bit of a favoritism towards Detroit team, was Dominik Hasek.
Yeah. Yes, I knew you were going to say that.
But he's a lot of fun to watch.
But the difference between Hasek and Quick is Hasek was a roller coaster ride, because I don't know if you guys remember, but when Hasek, I wanted to shoot Hasek a lot of the times when he would come about 60 feet out of the net and decide to play the puck like he was a forward. instead of staying back and saving the puck when it was going on net. Quick would never do that. And, I mean, I think the most goals that Quick's allowed in this playoff so far is like 3. And I think he did that once in the whole playoffs. I mean, they're 8-0 on the road, so I honestly think no matter who they play, I mean, if they play the Rangers, I'm guessing that the Rangers are probably going to be favored. But I would not be surprised if they play New Jersey if the Kings are not the favorite.
And the Kings get to sit and rest a little while too.
Yeah, Quick has been phenomenal so far in the postseason.
Yeah. But I just wanted to bring that up because, I mean, we're really on the verge of history right now. And when you really think about it, St. Louis was the last team to make the MLB postseason last year. They won the playoffs, too. So you could honestly have, in the 4 major sports, 3 of them having the worst team going into the playoffs. Well, the Giants, too. I mean, who thought the Giants were going to... This is definitely the year of sports for the underdog. I mean, they all 4 champions have a chance to beat teams that nobody expected to win it, except for me.
Yeah. Hey, I had the Giants last year.
But, I didn't expect the Giants to come out, but they always play good football in the playoffs. So
yeah. All right, Detroit. That pretty much wraps up another show of 3Troit Sports Talk. Thanks again for listening. Let's just hope that these Tigers can turn it around and be the team that we all know that they can be. Next week, as much as it pains me to say, we're going to be previewing the Michigan and the Michigan State season. So be sure to turn in if you're a college football fan, and we will see you next week. Thanks for listening.